outside the 10. Carr tips it in and it's Ward. He spins into the end zone for the touchdown. Watching greatness on one end in LeBron. There's a dude with 35 in white getting it done defensively and then offense taking over the fight. Mama, there goes that man.
They have shared a brilliant championship battle, but the championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Waterboy Experience. I am your host, the Waterboy himself, Davis McLemore, and we might as well call this the timely edition because the sooner this week is over, the better. Because what a week it was in the NFL, and not much going on in Formula One, but Jason Shaddix has some news on that. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to him because, again, like I said, this is the timely edition because we're in a rush, and I really don't want to talk about this week in the NFL. So let me introduce to you Jason Shaddix.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a happy edition of the Waterboy Experience for me.
This is not a happy. For you, it's happy, but for me, it's let's get into it. Let's get it over with. I'm ready to kill this dog.
All right, so he's not happy. I'm happy, so let's do the news. All right, so like David said, there's not a lot of Formula One news because there's no race this weekend, this weekend and last weekend. So I do have some news, and we're gonna go over them really fast. A few months back, we talked about Alex Palou and his contract dispute with Chip Ganassi Racing and McLaren. It was basically the catalyst for the Oscar Piastri debacle, in which Ganassi announced that Alex would be driving for them next year, and then he goes on social media and says, "No, I'm driving for McLaren." Well, we finally got a confirmation for that dispute. On last Wednesday, Alex announced that he agreed to race for Ganassi next year, and they have allowed him to be able to test drive for McLaren. And he actually got a test, I think, on Saturday or Friday of last week. So they squared their differences. You know, maybe Alpine should take notes. Anyway, moving on and staying on IndyCar, Red Bull has given up on getting Colton Herta into AlphaTauri after their efforts to get the FIA to waive the remaining 8 points needed to obtain his super license. The only way for him to obtain those points now is to be part of some international race that are held during the F1 winter break. But with it being so close to the season opener in 2023, Red Bull have decided that they didn't want to put AlphaTauri in a position where there's a chance Colton couldn't get those last few points. Essentially, there's a few international races and he could get the last remaining 8 points to get that super license to drive for AlphaTauri. Because it's so close to the opening day of Formula One and testing, they're like, well, if he doesn't get it, AlphaTauri's screwed. The car is not going to be ready, and we're going to be a man down.
So do you think with time, maybe like one more year, they're eventually going to get him on?
Depends on who they get next year, because that person could be better, be like, oh, we don't need Colton.
He is close to qualifying, though.
Very close indeed. All right, so Nick DeVries has confirmed, though, that he has been in talk with Helmut Marko about joining AlphaTauri, though nothing has come of these talks so far. DeVries has said that it's not up to him where he goes. So that's, I think, an interesting point. Yesterday, on Tuesday, it was announced that Monaco will stay on the Formula One calendar until the 2025 season, and many F1 fans have grown in disappointment.
What's so bad about Monaco?
The problem with Monaco is it's a small city. Like, literally, the city of Monaco is the country. That's it. And because that race has been in the F1 calendar pretty much since its existence, it was good back when the cars were very small. This year, the cars are as big as they've ever been, and you can't overtake, you can't have a battle. It's literally up to pitch strategy, as we saw this year, or qualifying.
So for those big clunky cars, it's just too small of a track.
Exactly.
So you would think, why don't they just renovate the track, fix it up, and make it bigger?
They can't expand beyond that because there are buildings right next to the road.
Oh, that's right. It's a street track.
If you remember earlier this year, you watched a race where it was in a city and it was raining and it was red flagged and all that. And it's basically when the Ferrari curse actually started with the strategy and all that. That was Monaco, if you remember.
Yeah, that was the one where, they were box out, no, stay in, or that kind of stuff. That was Monaco.
Exactly. And like I said, that's the big issue with Monaco. It's so small that, they can't battle next to each other. Honestly, I'm surprised they can get the cars through some of those corners because those corners are very, very tight.
It's tight. So, is it Abu Dhabi that has the tall walls and everything? Is it Abu Dhabi or that's, where's that at?
Are you thinking of Jeddah?
Jeddah. I think it is Jeddah. It was one of the earlier races in the season.
So it could have been
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so Saudi Arabia, Jeddah.
Okay. So yeah, it was kind of like that because Jeddah has these really tall walls and there's no wiggle room on those roads, on those corners. Now it's built for these bigger Formula 1 cars, but it's kind of similar to Monaco a little bit.
Monaco's
in the way that it's tight corners, tight space.
It is somewhat similar to Monaco. I think the best comparison would be to the Singapore Grand Prix, which we're going to be having in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And that one is a city street track, but even that one's still wider. Like, there's certain parts where, like, yeah, you really can't put two cars side by side, but for most of the track, you can. You just got to be very brave because one of those things with those city tracks is if you hit the wall, well, say you're out. There's no way that you'll hit the gravel and be able to return to the race. But like I said, a lot of people will complain about it. It's mostly stays in Formula 1 because it's like that. It's like Lombardi Stadium. It's one of those things where it's just iconic. It's part of Formula 1 history, and a lot of people go there. A lot of celebrities. If you've seen the Iron Man 2 movie where they're having that race sequence, and then the bad guy comes out and Tony gets the briefcase and all that, that's Monaco. And those were like 90s, 80s Formula 1 cars. I think they were like not Formula 1, but like junior level. But yeah. Anyway, we were also given the 2023 calendar, which we have 2 additional races next year. One will replace the Russian Grand Prix, and that's the race in Qatar, which we raced in last year. It's a pretty okay race from what I remember. Nothing really exciting. And then the other one is obviously the race in Las Vegas.
I see. I'm excited to see the Las Vegas race because are they going to be racing on the streets of Las Vegas?
Yes.
That's going to be cool.
One of the cool things about it is it's going to be a night race.
It's going to be lit up and everything, and that is going to be. It's not going to be tight like a. Was Miami tight or?
Well, Miami was a little bit tight. There was a lot of parts where it wasn't tight and it was actually quite big. Obviously, like under the bridge section, that was really fucking tight. If you ever played one of the Formula 1 games, whether it's Manager or the Formula 2022 game, and you'll see how tight those corners are. I'm like, Jesus, how can drivers get through that? So that one's a little bit tight, but it's got so much wiggle room. Monaco doesn't. And I think Las Vegas, it's going to be widened because they have those big streets. Plus, I mean, it's Vegas. They got to go big.
You have to. And they'll probably want a lot of overtakes in the race to make it more entertaining and all that kind of stuff. So they're probably purposefully going to make it wider.
Exactly.
A lot of straights.
Probably. Now, what I'm interested in seeing is, are they going to, you know how they have like the generic 2022 Formula 1 car that the FIA built?
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to color it in, they're going to put like the Raiders livery on there.
I don't know about that. That'd be cool. It'd be cool if they made like an Elvis livery.
I mean, that would be more like Nashville or Memphis, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. Nashville, Memphis, and Las Vegas. They're all Elvis cities.
Yep. Well, let's move on to my last piece of news, which involves Alpine. And it's basically Alpine saying that they're thinking about shutting down their young drivers program. The reason for it being is, we spend I'm paraphrasing, but essentially what the boss of Alpine said is, we spent millions on Oscar Piastri and he left us, and where's the loyalty, where's this and that? And he's like, it's unfair for us to be spending all that time, all that effort, all that money, and it all goes to waste and somebody gets to reap the benefits of that fruit. To that, I simply have to say is, Oscar told you about the contract multiple times. His manager, Mark Webber, did multiple times. Hey, he doesn't have a contract. What are we going to do about it? And you guys kept on pushing it back. And going back to what came out in the legal board judgment. The woman who was in charge of the legal side said she was bottlenecked and she didn't have a lot of resources in order to do all the legal stuff. And it's like bull fucking shit. You're telling me a company like Alpine, who is essentially an offshoot of Renault, like it's their luxury brand. It's like Toyota and Lexus, Infiniti and Nissan, Lincoln and Ford. It's just their luxury brand. And they're like, you really telling me that a company like Renault can't have more people or can't divert a little bit of money to get you an assistant to do all that fucking paperwork? So it's Alpine being a bunch of cunts. I'm just going to be honest. They're cunts.
It's Alpine being Alpine.
Exactly. Though they did say that, for everybody who's under an Alpine contract, they're going to still support them and all this and that. Essentially, they're trying to keep babyface, but they're a bunch of wankers.
They are.
But that was my nondescript motorsport news. I know I missed some stuff, the race in MotoGP and all that stuff, but frankly, we're running low on time and I really want to get to the Raiders.
You want to get to the Lions too, don't you?
No, I want to get to the Raiders.
No, the Lions won.
I don't care. I want to get to the Raiders.
All right. Well, Thursday night, the Chargers and the Chiefs played, and that was the first game of week 2. And one thing I can say about this game, both teams did really good. And that's the only compliment I will ever give the Chiefs is I have to admit they are one of the better teams in the NFL, certainly probably better than us. But the Chargers defense was spectacular, even though they couldn't quite hold on to the win here. And they had 326 passing yards. So I think it's really interesting how that Chargers team has really developed into, they look a lot like the Rams did last year. So, but Chargers are undefeated so far. They're 2-0. Well, my bad. They are not undefeated. My bad. I looked at the record wrong. So Chiefs are undefeated. They're 2-0. Chargers are 1-1.
Hey, fun fact though, the Chiefs are leading your division with the Raiders being at the very bottom.
Yeah, we are at the bottom. So next up, we have the Patriots versus the Steelers. The Patriots beat the Steelers 17-14. The Steelers really missed T.J. Watt. The Giants beat the Panthers, and the Giants are looking pretty good right now. And like you keep saying, both New York teams look pretty good right now, and they're both 2-0. The Giants threw the ball very well and ran the ball very well. That's Saquon Barkley right there. And one thing they do need to fix, though, is penalties. They had 8 penalties on the day, but they won the ball game. And this Panthers team is not looking as promising as we thought they would look.
I mean, it's still early in the season to say, that they're not that great because, it's still early. Like I said, a lot of things can happen. They could learn from their mistakes, but they're 0-2 right now. So they're not doing
great. Lost to the Browns and the Giants. Not taking away anything from the Giants, but
I mean, can you really say that, you lose to the Giants, that's a bad thing? No, not compared to like the last 2 games. Well, didn't you say last week that this is the first time that the Giants have won the season opener in like such a long time, or was that a different team?
The statistic you might be thinking of is the Browns. It was the first time the Browns had won a season opener last week against the Panthers.
No, because there was somebody, I remember seeing videos on Instagram about this guy going outside and going, we just won the season opener, and he was wearing like a jersey that was blue.
I don't know if that was the Giants or not, but I do know that last week was the first Browns season opener that they had won against the Panthers. But speaking of the Browns, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Jets versus the Browns. The Jets, Joe Flacco, has had like a midlife resurgence here because he was 26 for 44, 307 yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. Dude absolutely went off. And Jacoby Brissett was 22 for 27. He was accurate. You can give him that for 229 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Nick Chubb was 17 carries for 87 yards and 3 touchdowns. And ultimately, this was actually a really good game on both sides, but that passing offense of the Jets was just a little too good. And it resulted in a 31-30 win for the New York Jets.
By the way, I was right. I just looked it up. The New York Giants' first win of season opener in 6 years.
Okay.
So, one thing I have to say about the New York Jets is, all right, so this quarterback is playing instead of the MILF Hunter because he's out.
Joe Flacco, a former Super Bowl winning I think he might have been an NFL MVP several years ago, but he's old, not nearly as old as Tom Brady, but he's older, and he hasn't really had a starting job in the league in several years. But here he goes. He looks like old Joe Flacco did.
So say he's good until Milf Hunter comes back. What do you do then? Do you replace Joe Flacco if he's doing really good for a guy who just came back from an injury who hasn't proven himself yet? Or do you switch him out and be like, all right, Joe, thanks for showing up. Now take a seat.
The one thing I think you would have to do, put Zach Wilson in the game and see how he does. And I think Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco is winding down his career, I think Joe Flacco can be instrumental in helping Zach Wilson develop. Now, if you put Zach Wilson in and he doesn't do really great, swap him back out and let Zach Wilson ride the bench behind Joe Flacco and tell him, look, Joe's winding down. We're going to put him in to win now, but he's going to help you progress and get better to where as soon as he's ready to hand the ball to you, you're ready to go out and ball. This isn't a situation like Kenny Pickett on the Steelers. This is a situation where in the beginning, and I know Joe Flacco wasn't on the Jets when they drafted Zach Wilson. I don't think he was. Let Joe Flacco start and let Zach sit under him and learn.
I get that.
That was the best thing to do for him because you had a veteran former Super Bowl winning quarterback there. But with the Steelers and Kenny Pickett, it was different because you didn't have a veteran. You didn't have anybody that he could sit under and really learn from. Who, Mitchell Trubisky? Don't get me wrong, he's doing good right now. But the best thing to do for Kenny Pickett was to just throw him in there, trial by fire, let him go. So there's different scenarios for different quarterbacks and different teams. So,
all right, fair enough.
Moving on to a abysmal performance here by the Indianapolis Colts. Jacksonville Jaguars shut out the Indianapolis Colts 0-24. Matt Ryan was 16 for 30, 195 yards, and 3 interceptions. And I also want to make this known, the Indianapolis Colts in the past, 300-something games, only been shut out 3 times. Can you guess who those 3 teams are?
No, I cannot.
Jaguars, and the Jaguars. The only time in the past 300-something games, I think it's like 371, that they have been shut out all 3 times, it's been the Jaguars. And 300 games was like 20, 30 years or something like that. So, very impressive performance from the Jaguars. That defense, we can go back to calling it Saxonville. Now, here's a fun game that I know that you enjoyed and our friend across the pond really enjoyed. Dolphins versus the Ravens.
You want to talk about an upset victory. That is an upset victory, and that is the complete opposite of what the Ravens usually do. Essentially, it became the Dolphins versus the Falcons, if we're going to be honest.
Well, essentially, but you can't take it. You can't take away from the Baltimore Ravens here. It was back and forth. It was a really good game, and
nobody expected that comeback.
Nobody expected a 28-point comeback from the Miami Dolphins. And I mean, Tua Tagovailoa was 36 for 50, 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Tyreek Hill had 11 receptions for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle was 11 receptions for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the tight end Mike Gesicki was 4 for 41 and 1 touchdown. And I mean, throwing 6 touchdowns and over 400 yards in a game. Tua looks like he's playing in Alabama again. And essentially he is, because he's got, his former teammate Jalen Waddle. But, Tyreek Hill being on that offense makes the difference. And I'm probably going to pick him to be the overall MVP of this entire week because it was great.
I mean, honestly, you could say everybody on that team was the MVP of the week because, again, that's a tremendous comeback. That is amazing. And it's not like a situation, and we'll talk about this later, with the Raiders and the Cardinals. It's not that similar because the Ravens came in and, fuck, they were so good. You see that catch they did at the beginning of the game?
Yeah. They were up 28-7 at halftime.
I was at work, and I was checking up the scores, and I was like, well, fuck. Dolphins had a good run the first week. They're not going to win the second week. Bog texts me and is like, dude, we fucking won. And I'm like, what? No fucking way. That's like
a great comeback.
Great comeback.
He told me, he was like, I love these high-scoring, fast-paced, the high-flying football games. And I said, well, Kyle, you picked the right team to be a fan of because the Miami Dolphins, they play the Bills next week. It's a shot in the dark, but I'm going to ask you this. Do you see the Dolphins beating the Bills next week?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
This Baltimore Ravens defense has always been good. They are good.
Not Bills good, though.
Not nearly Bills good, but it's at the very least, I think it's going to be an entertaining game.
It will be. Whoever wins, best man won. But if the Dolphins can beat the Bills, are we looking at a sleeper?
I think we are. I think we're looking at a team that's like, wait a minute, we shouldn't have sat on them. But so the Dolphins beat the Ravens 42-38 in a quite impressive fashion. The Buccaneers versus the Saints. At the beginning of the game, we all thought this would be all Saints because Tom Brady could not do anything against the Saints. But at the second half, because this was not a very big offensive game from the New Orleans Saints, they only had 3 points at halftime, but on the defensive side of the ball, it was just domination in the first half. Buccaneers didn't get any points in the first half, but in the fourth quarter, they scored 17, and also we know what else happened in the fourth quarter. The drama surrounding Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. But Tom Brady was 18 for 34, 190 yards, and 1 touchdown. And on the other side of the ball, Jameis Winston was 25 for 40, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. That is unacceptable. Overall, the Buccaneers came away with a 20-10 win, but not after Mike Evans was suspended for next week's game. And there you go. Your thoughts.
I always knew the Buccaneers would win that game. I didn't think the Saints were good enough, and I was proven right.
Well, the Saints defense was doing really good in the beginning, but,
hey,
you have your optimisms, but
hey, you could do really good at the beginning of the game. That doesn't mean fucking shit.
Yeah, well, that was apparent for several games this week, especially one that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Washington Commanders versus the Detroit Lions. Wow, this is a big win here. Jared Goff was 20 for 34, 256, and 4 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, this kid's good. He was 2 carries for 68 yards, and he had 9 receptions for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. I like that guy. And on defense, you had William Harris had an interception. Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks. And I mean, this defense held up their own in this game. And Carson Wentz still played really good. Don't take anything away from him. He was 30 for 46, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And I was really impressed by the rushing attack from the Detroit Lions because they had 191 rushing yards versus Washington's 88 yards. So your boys in blue, they came out and they played some good football. 27-36, Detroit Lions.
Of course we did. We're just warming up. It might took us a minute, when we didn't win that first season opener, but you know what? That engine is just heating up right now. It's cranking. It's warming up right now, and we're about to hit the accelerator in that fucker.
You think Aiden Hutchinson's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year? Maybe even Rookie of the Year, period?
I mean, what's the competition?
Honestly, I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
Seahawks versus the 49ers.
Talk about a blowout game.
I don't know what the Seahawks are doing right now. And Trey Lance went out early in the game, and they put in Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was 13 for 21 for 154 yards and 1 interception. There wasn't much to this game. It was what we expected. And, Seattle Seahawks lose to the San Francisco 49ers 7-27. Falcons versus the Rams. Marcus Mariota for the Atlanta Falcons was 17 for 26, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Matthew Stafford was 27 for 36, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions as well. Passing yards, Los Angeles Rams won by a long shot, 272 yards. And late in the game, you saw it, the Falcons slowly started coming back a little bit. They showed a little sign of, wait a minute, they might can do what every other team does to them. But no, it was for naught. This reigning defending Super Bowl champions won 31-27.
I mean, give credit where credit is due. This is a team that's not good. All right, the Falcons aren't that great. And you have to admit that even though they did lose at the end, for a shitty team, they didn't do that bad against the Los Angeles Rams.
Not at all. If they could perform like that for the rest of the season, they could beat anybody. Because they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter, but you only scored 10 points in the rest of the game. So either the Rams just kind of started shutting down because they were like, all right, we got this, or the Atlanta Falcons just found a switch, flipped it, and started balling out.
I think a few guys from the Rams took a potty break.
Maybe Matthew Stafford just took a nap. Anyway, the Atlanta Falcons unfortunately lost to the Los Angeles Rams 27-31. Now, I really considered not watching football ever again after seeing this game.
I love this game. I fucking love this game. I cannot fucking wait to hear your rant.
You saw how good we were doing in the first half, though, didn't you?
I saw that you were up. I was thinking, well,
20-0.
Did I or did I not say it's only a matter of time for them to drop the ball?
You said something like that. I don't remember exactly what you said. You were like, let's hope they don't fuck it up. But in the first half, we were great. It was rolling. Like, I don't know what happened. We didn't get anything. We scored 3 points in the third quarter to make it 23-7, and then after that, we did not have anything. It was the finish of the game that was ridiculous. NFL teams, you want to beat the Raiders? Rush. Run the ball on the ground. 143 yards the Cardinals had against us. We could not fucking stop them. They threw the ball you know what? You could just do anything you want to us. You can bend us over and spank us if you want to. Does not matter. We don't care.
Well, that's exactly what they did.
12 penalties on the day. Most of them were from this abysmal offensive line, this garbage offensive line. And they're all avoidable. It's just simple discipline. We lost a fumble in overtime. Hunter Renfrow fumbled the ball after he caught the ball and he took a big shot. He's in concussion protocol right now. And guy scooped it up, ran it back for a touchdown, and that was the game. 29-23, final overtime. I don't understand what, Raider fans across the world right now are just like, why? Why do we do this to ourselves? What, I really want to know what makes us just the most disappointing team in the NFL. It's not even like we go into a game and we get blown out. It's we blow them out and then we just let them walk all over us. We show for a minute, hey, if we wanted to be really good, we could be the best fucking team in the NFL. But that's not going to happen because then they're going to score 29 unanswered points on us. That's fine. I could take that all day. But we'll come back the next week. Oh, we'll start off the game. Let's score 40 points in the first half. And then let's let them come back in the second half and score 41 points on us. Let's just be the most bipolar team. The Raiders are like a girl on her period. We don't know what's wrong with them. We don't know what they want. They're so bipolar. They're so back and forth and back and forth. We don't know what it is. And if it's not the defense, it's the offense. If it's not one thing, it's the other. Oh, it's the offensive line. All right, let's fix the offensive line. Well, now it's the defensive line. Let's do this. Well, we need a new scheme. Well, we need a new coach. We need to do this. We need to do that. It's like there's no just fixing it. Because as soon as you put out one fire, you turn around and another fire is going on. Because last year, our big problem was the defense. All right, let's spend a bunch of money fixing the defense, but we're going to make sure that we spend a lot of money on this offense to where this offense will still be really good. How did that fucking work for us? Defense, I will give the defense credit here because they were on the field the entire second half, and they were gassed. And I told you that while the game was going on. I said, our guys are so fucking tired. They've been on that field. They can't get off. And Amik Robertson had an interception. Good for him. Max Crosby had a sack. Good for him. And we had several big stops, especially late in the game, like on the goal line. When it counted, we stopped them. And we were like, fuck yeah, that's what we need. But as soon, and you would think that this offense, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs. You would think that when they got back on the field, they wouldn't be gassed. Nothing would be wrong with them because they've been out the whole fucking second half. So you would think, well, we got a fully charged offense. Now we're just going to ball out in overtime. Nope. I don't blame it on Carr. I don't even blame it on Hunter Renfrow. I don't even know who to blame it on. This offensive line was unacceptable. And I'm going to put some of the blame on Josh McDaniels. Because how do you not even target Devontae Adams and Darren Waller in the second half? And I know we were only on the field for a little bit, but Matt Collins was our number one wide receiver. 5 catches for 66 yards. And he did great. Have you ever heard of Matt Collins before this game?
No, I didn't even know that name existed.
Neither did I. But he came out and he was great. And I said last week, try to target somebody other than Devontae. So then we started spreading the ball out a little bit more. And I was like, okay. In the first half, I was like, all right, that's great. Let's do it. And then they didn't throw the ball at all. It was absolutely terrible.
They threw it to Renfrow, who fumbled the ball 3 times in a row.
Yes. In overtime, he fumbled it. No, not 3 times, twice. But he fumbled it one play, and then they were like, well, offense recovered the fumble. And I was like, oh, great. All right. So you would think you wouldn't throw it back to Renfrow, would you? Nope. Right back to Renfrow. What happened? Very next play. Fumbled the ball, scoop, score. I don't know what we need. I don't know what's wrong with us.
Look,
because as soon as we invest money in fixing something, something else is wrong. Something else is broke. And no, yeah, I told you we did just trade for an offensive lineman from the Patriots. Okay, that's good. I've never heard of this kid. I don't know how good he is anyway. We got rid of Alex Leatherwood. I always said 3 things are certain in life: death, taxes, and Alex Leatherwood was going to get an offside or a false start. He would have gotten those penalties up on us anyway, but he was a good blocker. He'd give him that. But now we've got guys that are making penalties and they can't even block. They can't hold a pinata at a birthday party.
I'll tell you, and I told you this, and I think this is the best way to fix the Raiders. It's the only way to fix the Raiders. If I was Mark Davis, as soon as the game ended and everybody was going to come into the locker rooms, I would have been handing them out a sheet of paper that said, you are fired, and I do not want you to be here in 20 minutes when I come back.
Yeah, just pack up your shit in the locker room and get out. At the very least, the offensive lineman. All right, y'all are all fired. Y'all all fucking suck. There's no possible way, unless you are the Atlanta Falcons. There's no possible way that you could let a team score 29 unanswered points.
Yes, there is. There's a new team in Las Vegas. They're called the Las Vegas
Falcons.
That
does not happen.
Well, look what just happened.
To anyone else, that does not happen. If this was any other team, no. If we were the Chiefs, if we were even the Browns, that wouldn't happen. This shit only happens to us. So it's fucking stupid.
How long?
And we're going to turn around. I guarantee you, we're going to turn around and we're going to get absolutely fucked in the ass by the Titans next week. That's just what's going to happen. And whether it's we're up on them and then they come back, or all game they just walk all over us and we look like we don't know what we're doing.
And they've been pretty shit this season.
They have, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how a team plays. We could lose. We could get to the point where we were 10-1 and we're playing a 1-10 team. That 1-10 team would come out of nowhere and blow us off. That kind of bipolar, not knowing what to expect. Like, why do we lose these games that we should win, but these games that we need to win, we still can't win? But if it's a game that it's understandable if we lose, we win. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because after the Titans, then we got the Chiefs, and I'm just hoping, at this point, I'm not even hoping to beat the Chiefs. I'm just hoping that we can just not get embarrassed.
Just change out management. That's the issue. Before, it's old man Al who's going insane, and that's the reason why the Raiders haven't been good since 1980, 83, 84, whatever.
Well, really, we haven't been good since 2001.
Whatever, all right? You guys suck, all right? Everything about the way the team is run absolutely sucks. And I think it's hilarious that, and it's going around, it's becoming a meme about the people in the third quarter celebrating about the Raiders with champagne and all this.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's just fucking Vegas.
No, but like the passionate Raider fans, the ones that color themselves and dress up like the Road Warriors and all that, they were like first half, yeah, we're winning, suck more dicks. Next time is like, can I at least have some loot before you fuck me in the ass?
Can we at least go get some dinner? I like to be wined and dined before I've been fucked. But, and the other thing is, like, I was on Instagram, I'm looking through all these posts, and you see all these fans, they're like, how does this happen? How do we do this? How do we do? And then, this guy commented and he goes, you can tell the new Raider fans from the old Raider fans. The old Raider fans are not surprised because we do this all the time. I was like, yeah, I've been a Raider fan for 20 years, ever since I was born. And yeah, this is the way it happens. I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed.
I'm not surprised.
Well, the Texans lost to the Broncos 9-16. Bengals beat the Cowboys 17-20. I heard that you had a rant for that. You're welcome.
Oh yeah.
You're
Cowboys
welcome to
Bengals.
To run all over them. Let me go over the next few games really quick because we only have 3 left. Bears lost to the Packers 27-10. Titans lost to the Bills 41-7. Ooh. And the Eagles beat the Vikings 24-7. The last 2 games were Monday Night Football. So, Bengals versus the Cowboys. Give me your thoughts.
Before I used to say that Joe Burrow reminded me of a young Max Verstappen, but the truth of the matter is that a young Max Verstappen was so much better than the Bengals and Joe Burrow, and I take that compliment back because I am just insulting Max right about now because Max would never fall that bad, even if he lost. All right?
They lost to a backup quarterback, by the way.
The Bengals. Look, I don't care. People say, oh, it's a Super Bowl hangover. Sports fans are very superstitious.
It's because they spent the whole offseason revamping their offensive line. In reality, they made it worse.
Why revamp what was actually pretty good and helped you get to the Super Bowl when, in fact, the problem was management and those fucking idiots who decided, you know what, we're not going to even fucking try. It's not worth trying. We're at the Super Bowl. It's nothing important. It's fucking stupid. Honestly, the Bengals could just go die in a fucking ditch for all I care. I was hopeful for them. I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll get to the playoffs again and be a really good team. Nope.
I was too. I was like, maybe they can come back this year and, really be strong and be able to go and challenge for the Super Bowl again. Doesn't look like it right now.
To lose to the fucking Cowboys after coming back from a Super Bowl, whether it's a Super Bowl loss, is one of the biggest fucking insults you could possibly get. You might as well lose to the fucking Falcons after leading for 70 points and then making a 80-point comeback. Okay, that's exactly what I see. And, if you're a Bengals fan, why? All right, why? What's the point?
Well, you could say the same thing about us. Like, what's the point? What's the point of me being a Raider fan anymore? A lot of these Bengal fans, they're not bandwagons, but
they're bandwagons.
Some of them are bandwagons, but like the faithful Bengals fans, go back just a few years ago, this was nothing new. But honestly, it's embarrassing losing to the Cowboys because the record does not say it and the score does not say it. But in my opinion, the Cowboys are the worst team in the league.
Which is funny. They're the most valuable team in the entire world, yet they're the shittiest team.
I can say how bad we are, but nobody's worse than the Cowboys.
Look, our friend Nathan, all right? Shout out to Nathan in El Paso, all right? He is from Texas, born, raised there his entire life. He is a Falcon fan, which, that says a lot about him. But he says, you know what? I fucking hate the Cowboys. I think they're the shittiest team ever. I hate their fan base. I think they're just a bunch of, people kind of like they think they're better than they really are.
And, he's actually saying that. And, if I was to say the same thing about the Chiefs, oh, Chiefs suck. They're the worst team in the NFL. No, I can say this. I roll my eyes while I say it. Chiefs are the second best team in the NFL right now. And I can honestly say that caught me off guard. So that took a lot out of me to say that. But, the Cowboys actually are terrible.
But something, though. There is a silver lining to this entire week. You don't want to know what it is?
What's that?
I won 4 games. I lost 1 game.
You did. I won.
You won 3 games. You lost 3 games.
And we're tied at 8-8?
Yep.
This is going to be interesting. This next week will really determine who is better and who is not good. You want to go ahead and start betting on the games?
Yes, I already chose a few games prematurely just because, I wanted to see what looked good to me.
Okay.
So I got my week 3 already on my notes and everything. So Let me start this one out.
Since you did win more games this week, I'll let you start. Okay.
And I think you started out last week.
I did, yeah.
All right, so my week. All right. I am going to choose one which I don't think I'll win because it's such a 50-50, but I am taking the Buffalo Bills beating the Miami Dolphins.
You took mine, but I was going to pick the Dolphins over the Bills. Do you want to count that? Since we're picking two different teams, do you want to count that?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right.
By the way, that's pretty much the only entertaining game this coming week.
Packers and Buccaneers will be good.
Oh, please. It's a blowout. We know who's going to win. Let's go, Brady.
I mean, I'm not saying it'll be great, but I'm saying it'll be pretty solid. All right, I'm going to pick a defensive matchup here between two of what looks like the better defenses in the league. Jaguars and the Chargers. I'm going to pick the Chargers going over the Jaguars.
Okay, that's a good one. All right. I am going to pick one, and I know you're not going to like this pick, but I am going to go for it because I think I'm going to be right this time. I was good last week, so I am going to choose the Las Vegas Raiders beating out the Titans.
That's a bad. You're going to lose that one. I'm telling you right now.
Watch me win that one.
The way if you win that one, I'll tell you pick the Raiders every week. You could pick the Raiders every week. Just make it happen. I'm going to pick. This is an easy one. I'm going to pick the Saints going over the Panthers.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I am going to go for an easy one myself, and I know you're not going to like this one because I am choosing somebody who's growing on me, somebody who I'm starting to like more and more. I like the way he plays. I like the way he throws. Patrick Mahomes going over
Oh, God.
Mostly because it's an easy win.
Yeah. I'm going to pick a divisional matchup between the Giants and the Cowboys. I'm picking the Giants to beat the Cowboys.
I can't wait for the Cowboys to completely destroy the Giants.
That won't happen. That won't happen.
Just like you thought the Raiders were going to be really good this season?
That was different.
All right, I am going to go for the Ravens beating out the Patriots.
That's a good one. I'm going to go for the Buccaneers beating the Packers.
Oh, you bastard. That was mine. You fucking bastard. Oh.
Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Who's really better? Tom Brady.
All right, then that leaves me with going for the Lions versus the Vikings. I am going, of course, Lions. I know what you're going to say.
You may be a little disappointed. I'm just saying.
You're wrong. You've been wrong this entire week.
Look, Vikings are a good team. The last one I'm going to pick, I'm going to do a controversial one. And you're not going to like it. And you're going to be like, oh, you're just picking them because they beat the Raiders this past week. I'm going to pick the Cardinals versus the Rams. And I'm going to pick the Cardinals beating the Rams.
Bastard. I was going to pick them.
I know it's controversial, but I feel like they're riding off of a good win, a good comeback win from us. You're welcome. And they're going to go in and they're going to be able to beat the Rams. That's my thoughts.
By the way, that's not your last one.
Not my last one?
That's been 5. We do 6.
Okay.
All right, this one is going to be my last one, all right? You didn't leave me a lot of choices. You took a lot of my pick. Well, you took 2 of my picks, all right? But I have been liking what the New York Jets have been doing.
That was going to be mine.
There you go. Suck my dick. So I choose New York Jets beating out the fucking idiots from Cincinnati.
I'm going to go with the Eagles beating the Commanders. And that's my last one. Because the Commanders are down from that loss to the Vikings. I mean, not the Vikings, the Lions. And the Eagles are up. So I feel like Jalen Hurts is going to throw all over that Commanders defense.
I think I'm going to be right. And I think that I am going to go 6-0 this week.
Well, I think I'm going to go 6-0 too. That's the whole point of this. I definitely picked a couple upsets, but, at this point, this week was crazy. We saw a lot of upsets, a lot of comebacks. I feel like that's going to be a trend for the rest of the season.
I'm the one that's gambling more on the deep end than you are because I've got the Dolphins going over the Bills. I've got the Raiders winning a game.
The Raiders just doing good enough to beat somebody. The big one is the Lions versus the Vikings. I'm a little bit iffy on that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm a little bit iffy on that one because the Vikings look really good.
They're a fluke.
You think they're a fluke? What if the Lions are a fluke? What if this win this last week against the Commanders was just What's a one-off?
What if the 2 losses for the Raiders was just a fluke and they're going to do really good the rest of the season?
I don't think that's possible. I think we're going to suck.
Yeah. Now it's like, no, the fluke doesn't happen.
That's not a fluke. We don't fluke. That just happens.
You guys just choke and gargle. All right, anyway, I think that's been long enough. Do you want to sign us off, white boy?
I think I do want to sign us off. I think this has been a crazy week in the NFL. And we want to remind you guys to follow us on Instagram at the Waterboy Pod or on Twitter at the Waterboy EXP. Don't forget the YouTube channel is coming out. I know I keep saying it every week. The YouTube channel is coming. Eventually, we'll get it up as soon as we figure out the technology. Do you have any more announcements, Jason?
Sign us off, white boy.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Waterboy Experience, and peace.
Second and goal just outside the 10. Carr tips it in, and it's Waller. He spins into the end zone for the touchdown.